Incredible truth exposed: Black girl's heartwarming transformation after her dad, a governor, dies in scandal. Tiana felt the weight of whispers pressing down on her. At 16, she was supposed to be reveling in the joy of youth, but all anyone could talk about was her father. Philadelphia pulsed with energy around her, but the hallway at school felt suffocating. Her governor was engulfed in scandal, and her life felt like a sparkling glass that had been suddenly shattered. A piece of her heart broke with every pointed stare, every hushed conversation she overheard. How could she? They mouthed, and all she could think was, how could he? After another painful day, Tiana dashed to the community center, her refuge. The once hopeless stage, draped with colorful banners, had become a beacon of hope. There, surrounded by laughter, she connected with kids who knew struggles beyond her own. Their hopes glimmered like stars over a city skyline, and as she helped them with schoolwork, shared stories, and aspirations, Tiana felt warmth in what felt like dark times. Every day, those kids ignited a fire in her. Why should her father's mistakes define her? She had a dream to unite local veterans, to honor their sacrifices. With renewed determination, she decided to organize a charity event. As she poured colors onto the banner, she could see their hopes intertwined with her own. Now, her dreams had a purpose, and the shine of her determination illuminated every inch of the dim community center, but home was different. Every exchange with her father felt charged with unspoken tension. His deep-set eyes held endless disappointment. She feared the rift between them would widen forever, an abyss filled with lost love and harsh realities. One night, with trembling hands and a racing heart, she approached him. Their voices cracked like thunder. Each word spilled out a torrent of love, anger, hurt, and fear. "I'm proud to be your daughter, but I wish you hadn't let us down," she choked out. He looked her straight in the eye and said, "I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you." In that shared moment, something shifted. They were two souls reconciling, still standing together against the world. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the charity event approached, Tiana felt a blend of excitement and fear. Her heart raced when she saw a social media post just before she took the stage, a cruel message targeting her father's legacy. The breath caught in her throat, the crowd swirled before her, exhaling an uneasy mix of support and disdain. Would they see her as nothing more than the shadows of her father's mistakes? Her thoughts rumbled like a brewing storm, uncertainty dripped down her spine. This was her moment to heal her family's name, to bridge her community. Standing there, eyes scanning her audience, she felt the weight of expectation crushing her. Would they listen? Would they forgive? In that moment, with the spotlight radiating heat against her skin, she confronted the fog of injustice. A fierce yearning for justice ignited inside her. The question echoed, will her father's love prevail, or will it all come crashing down under the scrutiny of their reality? Tiana took a deep breath, allowing the heat of the spotlight to wash over her. She adjusted the mic, her fingers trembling slightly as she gripped it tightly. The world around her faded, and all she could see were those kids' faces, their hopes alive in her heart. She remembered why she was there. As she began speaking, her voice wavered, but she pressed on. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know the past few weeks have been difficult for us and for my family. A few murmurs echoed back at her, but she pressed forward, refusing to be swallowed by doubt. My father may have made mistakes, but I refuse to let those mistakes define our community or our future. A ripple of surprise coursed through the crowd. Tiana could sense the tension, a mix of skepticism and curiosity hanging thick in the air. She saw the faces scrutinizing her every word. I stand here, not just as his daughter, but as a member of this community that I love deeply. Her heart raced as her voice grew stronger. Together, we can rise above the scandal and show the world our true spirit. A small boy at the front, one she had helped with his math homework, cheered softly, and it lit a fire in her. She continued, pouring her heart into every word. We will not let shame keep us from honoring those who served our country. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, our veterans, our heroes. As she spoke, her mind flashed with memories, the laughter and tears shared in the community center, the kids she had mentored and the dreams they had exchanged. The people listening were not her father's critics but rather individuals who had their own stories of struggle. A sense of unity began to swell in the room. Just when Tiana felt the momentum building, a voice rang out from the back. What do you know about sacrifice? It was a woman, face twisted in anger, demanding to know why they should trust her words. The wind knocked out of Tiana's sails. Her heart sank. Please, give her a chance. Someone shouted. But doubt had already begun to fester amongst the crowd. Tiana could see the churning confusion on their faces. She had hoped for a wave of support, but the reality was much more complicated. She felt a tightness in her throat. Could this be the moment where it all fell apart? Panic bubbled within her, but looking into the eyes of the young ones by her side, she took a deep breath. I know I'm young. I know I don't have all the answers. But I believe in our power to create change. Not just for ourselves, but for those who came before us. My father's past doesn't have to be our future. The silence that followed her declaration was deafening. Tiana's heart raced. She glanced at her father, who was standing at the side, his expression a mixture of pride and anguish. In that moment, she realized a truth: she was fighting not just for her father's legacy but for her own right to shape who she was becoming. The tension in the room thickened. Would her words ignite a spark, or would they be lost in the chaos of doubts and resentment? Just then, a few figures stood up, one by one, their faces softening. The young boy spoke again. I believe in you, Tiana. The crowd responded with a mixture of hesitant applause and disbelief. With every clap, every whisper of encouragement, Tiana felt the tide shifting ever so slightly. But before she could relish in that moment of support, another post flashed up on a phone held high in the crowd. It read, "She's just following in her dad's footsteps." The laughter that erupted stung. Tiana felt cold dread creep over her. Would this be the moment that broke her? Swallowing hard, she knew she couldn't let it end like this. I may not have all the answers, but I believe we can define our community by the love we give and the respect we show. Help me bring honor to those who deserve it. The room swayed between hope and hesitation. Hearts and minds were still open, but it was clear the battle was only beginning. Would she find the strength to withstand the storm ahead, or would her father's legacy ultimately pull her under? As she held her breath, the future hung delicately in the balance. Tiana clenched her fists around the mic, her heart pounding in her chest. The laughter still echoed in her ears, but she refused to let it steal her voice. Instead, she focused on the young faces in front of her. They were her light, her reason to keep fighting. Let us talk about what it means to rise from the ashes, she continued, injecting her thoughts with the rawness she felt inside. You know what it feels like to overcome. Each of you has your own battles. We all do. But when we come together, we can create something beautiful. The weight of that statement hung in the air. Tiana searched the crowd for signs of hope, searching for eyes that were still open. She spotted the same boy who had cheered for her earlier, a small smile breaking on his face. That reminder of his trust rekindled a spark within her. Change doesn't happen overnight, she added, feeling urgency pulse through her. It takes hard work and grit. Sometimes it means standing in front of a group of people who doubt you and saying, I believe we can do better. And I do believe. A few heads nodded. Tiana felt emboldened by even those small signs. This community is more than just whispers about my father. It's about what we can achieve together, about the resilience we show in the face of challenges. The woman who had questioned her earlier shifted in her seat, doubt still written on her face, but something seemed different. Maybe she was beginning to hear the truth of Tiana's heart. Then, a voice rang from the back again, softer this time. "We're with you, Tiana." It was an older gentleman, one who had shared stories at the community center before. His words acted like a gentle wave breaking against a wall of resistance. More voices joined in. "You can do it. We believe in change." Tiana's spirit soared. The laughter, now just a distant echo, faded into the background as a sense of camaraderie surged through the room. She felt their energy building, a tidal wave of belief washing over everything. But as the clapping rose, a harsh reminder came in the form of a flashing phone again. "This is just a publicity stunt." The gravity of that statement crashed down, and Tiana felt her heart waver. How could she fight against that? "Every day is a chance to choose love over hate," she declared, praying her voice wouldn't tremble again. "I can't change what has happened in the past, but I can change how we move forward. Together, we have the power to create stories we can be proud of." The crowd pulsated with emotion, stakes high. She could feel their hope mingling with their fear. It was a beautiful chaos, full of potential. Then, she glanced back at her father, whose face now shone with something different, perhaps a flicker of awe. Seeing him there, so vulnerable, made her fight harder. There was another moment of silence, a shared breath between them all. Tiana could see the flickers of understanding sparking in the crowd. It was tiny but growing. "That's right," a woman murmured, more to herself than anyone else. "Hope is still here." Then, suddenly, a voice rang out from the back, sharper and louder. "And what if you fail? What if you can't bring us together?" The air crackled with tension. Tiana's heart dropped. The reality of her situation swarmed over her. But deep down, she felt a surge of determination. "If I fail, I will learn. But I'd rather try and stumble than remain silent." Each word became more powerful, spilling from her mouth like fire. She could see the dark clouds beginning to lift, bright shafts of light breaking through. And it filled her with some kind of wild hope. Where would this journey take her? What more would she need to face before she could claim a brighter future? Tiana held her breath, knowing every moment counted. Would that fragile light be enough to guide them all towards something beautiful? Tiana stepped back from the mic, her heart racing. She scanned the crowd, eyes wide for connection and acceptance. In the hush that followed her words, she could almost feel the weight of doubt being lifted inch by inch. It filled her with a sense of purpose, a promise that she wouldn't back down. But the question still hung in the air like a dark cloud: what if she failed? In that moment, everything felt fragile, electricity zipping through the room. Jermaine, the boy with the earlier smile, was now on his feet, his small frame shaking with excitement. "We trust you, Tiana. You're not doing this alone." His words, simple yet fierce, turned into a mantra. Others began to rise, one by one, lifting their spirits alongside her. Tiana's spirit soared, a wave of encouragement washing over her. She was not just fighting for herself, she was fighting for every person in that room, every story, every life that ever felt dismissed. But then she caught sight of her father, seated silently among the crowd. A governor known by many, loved by some, and rumored about often. His face was a mix of pride and apprehension, like he was standing on the edge of something monumental. Tiana felt herself shiver, wondering if he truly understood the fight swirling around them. As the noise of support grew louder, Tiana turned back to address the room. "I know change doesn't come without fear, and I know what you all think when you hear my name. But right here, right now, we have a golden chance to redefine what it means to be part of this community." The crowd erupted with cheers, some calling out names of loved ones who had inspired them to stand. It felt electric. Excitement danced along her spine. Engulfed by the pulse of passion, she continued. "We can make dreams visible, stories heard. We all bring a piece of our past to the table, and that is our strength. A woman young, with tears shimmering in her eyes shouted, "Let us show them." With every voice that added to the chorus, Tiana felt barriers smashing one by one. But doubt crept back in, lurking in the corners of her mind. What if they were only cheering for an idea? Would they stay when the lights dimmed and the day turned uncertain? Then, like a beacon breaking through shadows, her father stood up. The room went silent, all eyes on him. His presence loomed larger, each step toward the mic heavy with gravity. As he adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat, every face was painted with anticipation. "Tiana," he started, voice shaky, "this community needs you. But it also needs us all. I see the courage in your words, the power in your heart." His voice cracked, but he pushed through, urging the truth of unity. "And as your father, I'm here to support you." Gasps swept through the crowd, surprise igniting hope where despair lingered. Could he truly change course? Tiana's heart leapt, mingling with anxiety. Now more than ever, his presence mattered. His stance could shift everything. Would he accept the hand extended by the community, or would he still be trapped in his own power? Suddenly, she faced a pivotal moment. "Together," she interjected, excitement trembling in her voice, "we can show our strength. Together, we can shift the narrative." In that instant, her heart raced. They needed a plan. They needed an action that rippled beyond this gathering. Something tangible. Tiana took a deep breath. What if we organize community dialogues? Share our experiences. Let us make a space for every voice. Gasps of realization swept through her audience. This was more than hope. This was a chance at transformation. But the questions churned, hanging heavy in the air. Could she rally them all? Could they truly bring forth the honest stories that could shape a brighter future? As faces turned towards each other, confusion mixed with optimism. It was one thing to voice change, but another to get everyone on the same page. Her heart raced. If they could just take that leap together, would they find the courage to take that leap with her? The energy in the room shifted, crackling with a newfound intensity. Tiana felt the weight of expectations resting on her shoulders, but at the same time, an exhilarating wave of purpose coursed through her. She glanced at her father, his expression now softer, as if he were slowly letting down the walls he had built. "Tiana," he said, his voice gaining strength, "a dialogue isn't just about sharing stories. It's about listening. I realize that my role, my responsibilities, have often clouded what really matters, our people, their voices." The crowd erupted once more, cheers and encouragement erupting like fireworks. Tiana's heart swelled not just from her father's words, but from the realization that this journey could be a shared one. They were stepping not just into conversation, but into a shared future. "Let us get started," Jermaine shouted, raising his hands as if summoning an army. His enthusiasm was infectious. The crowd reached a fever pitch, energized and ready for action. "Right here, tonight," Tiana pressed on, "we can outline the first steps. We need to plan an event, a series of dialogues. People can come forward, share their truths, their struggles. This is our time to start bridging the gap." Ideas began to swirl around her like a whirlwind. People shouted out suggestions, locations, dates, themes. Tiana's heart raced with excitement, the vision of a vibrant tapestry of stories becoming clear in her mind, laughter shared over heartbreaks, smiles emerging from scars. Yet, in the back of her mind, uncertainty lingered. Would they really come forward? Would they be brave enough to share stories that might expose wounds tucked away for years? Okay, let us get a team together." A woman called from the back. "We can form a committee. Who is willing to help?" Hands shot up across the room. Tiana couldn't help but smile as adrenaline surged through her. They were in this together. Tiana took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of thoughts. "Let us have our first meeting next week, right here. We'll lay out a plan and set a date." The crowd erupted into applause, a frenzy of excitement filling the air, her father leaned closer, his gaze earnest. "I'll help, Tiana. I want to be present through this if you'll have me." His sincerity cut through the noise, a promise dripping with genuine intent. Tiana glanced around the room, seeing faces of hope, resilience, and determination. She nodded, her smile broadening. "Yes, let us do this together." As the evening winded down, Tiana felt lighter, as if the threads of fear were unwinding. Yet, beneath the surface, a new layer of apprehension formed. Could this momentum hold? Could they really create a platform for their voices to echo beyond this moment? Later that night, lying in bed, she gazed at the ceiling, contemplating everything that lay ahead. Shadows danced in her mind, fueled by the weight of possibilities. She couldn't shake the feeling that they stood at the precipice of something monumental. Just as she was about to drift into sleep, her phone buzzed, pulling her from the brink of dreams. It was a message from Jermaine, a picture of the crowd with the caption, "Imagine where we could go from here, let us keep pushing." A jolt of excitement coursed through her, but so did fear. What had she unleashed? Could they sustain this momentum? Would the community truly unite? As she stared into the darkness of her room, one thought clung to her mind like glue: together, they could create change, but it would require more than just words. The moment of truth was coming, and with it, leadership would truly be tested. Could she be the bridge they needed? The days leading up to the first meeting felt like a roller coaster. Tiana's thoughts raced, twisting and turning through excitement and doubt. She found herself replaying the moment when her father opened up, the warmth in his voice, the passion bubbling to the surface. Yet a nagging worry crept in on quiet nights. Was it enough? As the sun dipped below the horizon on the day of their first meeting, an electric buzz filled the community center. Tiana arrived early, nervous energy crackling in the air. The chairs were arranged in a circle, leaving space for everyone. She fiddled with her notes, afraid the words wouldn't come out right. What if they didn't connect? Then Jermaine burst in, a bright smile lighting up the room. "Ready for this? I brought snacks." He waved a bag of chips as if they were tiny flags marking a new territory. Tiana chuckled, the laughter easing some tension. One by one, familiar faces began to fill the seats. She saw mothers and fathers, friends, and childhood mentors, people she'd grown up with. Every person represented a thread in the tapestry she envisioned. Jermaine stood up and gave a quick rundown, the light-hearted tone breaking the ice. The community needed this, and she could feel the flame flickering alive. As Tiana stood to speak, her heart raced. "Thank you all for coming tonight, this is just the beginning." She took a moment to meet each gaze in the circle, trying to radiate confidence. "We're here to listen and to share. Let us create a space for voices that need to be heard." An elder in the back raised her hand, and Tiana nodded, urging her to speak. "We've been through storms together, but we've also shared sunshine. It's time to tell our stories, the ones that haven't been allowed to shine." That sparked a discussion, voices weaving together, sharing feelings and experiences. A young man talked about the struggles of being a student, feeling he had to prove himself continuously. A woman spoke of discrimination in the workplace that had made her doubt her worth for years. Each story filled the room like a shadow lifting, revealing shared pain yet hope interwoven within. As they passed the conversational baton, Tiana felt the atmosphere shift. Their struggles echoed like a heartbeat, a reminder that they were not alone. Each voice gave shape and texture to their collective spirit. Tiana could see her vision forming, the conversations blooming into something bigger, but just when the energy was building to a peak, a boy hesitated before speaking, drawing everyone's attention. "What if we share our stories, but no one listens?" His voice wavered, exposing an undercurrent of doubt that rippled through the group. A quiet spread as Tiana's heart sank for a moment. They were risking vulnerability. The weight of that vulnerability pressed against her chest. Would they truly be heard? "That's why it's important we keep coming together," Tiana replied, fostering a belief that resonated deep within her. "We'll build a network of listeners. This isn't a one-time thing. We're creating a movement. As the meeting progressed, Tiana could see the fear lifting. They traded stories, hopes, and dreams, opening a door they had kept shut for far too long. Yet as the meeting wound down, she still felt the shadows lurking. How would they sustain this energy? How could they ensure the conversations didn't end? Before she left, she caught her father's eye across the room. He gave her an encouraging nod, a promise that he was in this for the long haul. She smiled back, injecting the reassurance she didn't know she needed, but as she packed up, she felt a fresh wave of apprehension. Every heartbeat reminded her that the most significant challenges lay ahead. What if the community rallied behind them, only to face frustration when it came to real change? Standing outside, Tiana took a deep breath, the cool night air swirling around her. They had opened a chapter of their collective story. But she realized that very soon, they would need to confront the difficult truths they had all been avoiding. Could they weather the storms together, or would fear silence their voices once again? The answer awaited them just ahead. The following week was a whirlwind of emotions for Tiana. Each day blurred into another as she tried to keep the momentum from the first meeting alive. Thoughts of what was said in that circle echoed in her head while she walked to school, during lunch, and even as she lay in bed at night. She replayed every story like a cherished song that refused to fade, but as the days passed, the initial glow began to dim. There was a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Her classmates, the ones who once cheered her in the halls, now exchanged whispers that made her stomach churn. Tiana overheard bits and pieces, a raised eyebrow here, a mocking chuckle there. The community was still buzzing, but part of her felt isolated in a world that didn't always seem to support her dreams. During lunch, as she sat with Jermaine, the tension was thick between mouthfuls of messy pizza. He glanced around the cafeteria and murmured, "Did you hear what they said about that meeting? Some think it's just a joke." His voice trailed off, concern mingling with frustration. Tiana bit into her food, tasting the cold crust and wondering if the warmth shared in their gathering was only a fleeting moment. "I don't know, Jermaine. Maybe they just don't understand." He shook his head, his expression more serious than Tiana had seen before. "Understand? How can they understand if they don't even listen? It's like they don't want to hear the truth." The weight of those words lingered in the air, a heavy truth that was hard to swallow. The movement she envisioned was still fragile. If they were to foster unity, they needed to bring more people into the fold, not shut them out. Later that evening, Tiana sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, surrounded by crumpled papers and half-finished drawings, remnants of her thoughts and visions for their next meeting. She closed her eyes and imagined the faces of those who shared their stories, filled with hope but also worry. And then it hit her, a spark of inspiration. What if they brought in more voices? Those voices could drown out the whispers, shining brighter than the doubts lurking in the shadows. She grabbed a fresh piece of paper and began to write furiously. By the time she finished, Tiana's heart raced with excitement. She could rally the community for a special event. An open mic night where everyone would be invited to share not just their stories but also their art, their talent. Music, poetry, dancing. It would be a celebration of identity and resilience. "Jermaine!" she shouted, rushing outside to find him. He was lounging on the porch, strumming his guitar absent-mindedly. "Listen. We can have an open mic night. We can invite everyone to share their creativity." Jermaine perked up. "You mean like a showcase for our voices? That could be incredible." Tiana nodded, feeling energized. "It's a chance to unite us all again. This can be more than just stories. It can be music. Art. Everything. We can show them how strong we are together." As they brainstormed ideas, Tiana felt the thrill of possibility swell within her. But the earlier doubts were still there. Would people come? Would their stories be enough to ignite change? The night air wrapped around them like a silent promise, but her mind was racing with unanswered questions. Just when she thought she had a plan, another layer of uncertainty settled in her chest. What if this open mic night turned into another moment of silence rather than a platform of expression? Determined to push those fears aside, Tiana and Jermaine dove headfirst into planning, still haunted by the thought that the louder they shouted, the more others might try to silence them. As they finalized the details, Tiana clenched her fists, ready to take the leap. The next step would be the hardest. Would they find their voices in a world that kept trying to quiet them? That uncertainty hung in the air, but it couldn't dim the flicker of hope growing in her heart. It was time to amplify their stories, louder than ever. And so, the countdown to the open mic night began. But as Tiana prepared to confront her fears, a familiar face from the community appeared at her door, holding an envelope. What is this? Tiana wondered, her heart racing with anticipation. Could it be another chance to save her dream, or would it be the challenge that knocked the wind out of her plans? Tiana's fingers trembled as she reached for the envelope. The texture was rough and slightly crumpled, like it had traveled a long way. Unfamiliar handwriting sprawled across the front, and her heart raced with anticipation. What does it say? Jermaine leaned in closer, intrigued. With a deep breath, Tiana slid her finger beneath the flap and opened it. Inside was a letter accompanied by a small photo. As she unfolded the letter, the words blurred momentarily. Then she blinked hard, recentering herself. Dear Tiana, I hope this finds you well. I'm writing because I heard about the upcoming open mic night. I think it's a wonderful idea, one that truly matters. It reminds me of the vibrant gatherings we used to have in my neighborhood when I was younger, sharing stories, music, and laughter. This kind of event can change perspectives and bring people together. Also, I wanted to share a little bit more about my family's journey. My father, the governor, often mentioned how much community drives change. He once told me that our voices are our greatest weapons. I believe what you are doing is powerful, and I'd love to lend my support if it helps. That I'm attaching a photo from one of those gatherings, my father sharing a story, and I hope it inspires you as it did me. With sincerity. Angela. Tiana's hands shook slightly as she placed the letter down. A moment of disbelief washed over her. Jermaine, this is from Angela. She wants to help us. Wait, he said, eyes wide. Didn't you mention her family when we talked about the town's history? The governor's daughter? Yeah, Tiana murmured, her thoughts racing. Angela was part of the very structure she felt was against her, yet here she was, reaching out with words of support. Tiana lifted the small photograph that accompanied the letter. In it, a smiling Angela stood beside her father, their arms around one another, the laughter palpable even through the picture's faded colors. What do we do with this? Jermaine asked, his tone flipping from genuine amazement to cautious skepticism. We invite her to participate. Tiana declared, the thrill in her voice rising. She gets it. She knows what community means. This could change everything. So what is the plan? Jermaine's enthusiasm returned, his earlier reservations fading away. Tiana grinned, her spirit renewing. We need to get in touch with her. If she believes this event can make a difference, so do I. Just then, a thought hit her. What if we ask her to perform? If the governor's daughter stands up there with us, it'll show everyone that this isn't just a joke. It'll send a clear message. Yes. Jermaine replied, staring at the photo. Imagine the community coming together to witness this. It could change the narrative. But as excitement pulsed in the air, dread replaced it when she thought about sharing the stage with someone symbolic of privilege. What would others think? Would they feel silenced all over again by a person in power? Jermaine, what if they see her as just another privileged girl? What if it backfires? Tiana voiced her fears, her eyes narrowing. Jermaine shrugged but spoke with determination. But it could also open hearts. Maybe Angela can bridge the gap between us and them. You said they need to hear the truth, right? What better way than to have someone who can speak it from both sides? Tiana pondered Jermaine's words. Could this truly be a crucial moment to turn the tide? Or would it only stack the odds against her cause? As they plotted out what to say in the invite, uncertainty gripped Tiana once again. Could their dreams of unity withstand driving away the very voices they needed? The following week would be monumental, and as she stared into the distance, Tiana knew there was no turning back. What if they got it wrong? What if the moment they sought turned into a mess of confusion, instead of the unity they envisioned? The clock was ticking toward the event, but the fear of failure loomed larger than before. The weight of possibility pressed down on Tiana, making each decision feel like a crossroads. What lay ahead felt thrilling and terrifying all at once. Would they be able to see their dreams shape into reality, or would it tear them apart? Tiana sat on the edge of her bed, the letter resting beside her like a lifeline. She felt lost in a sea of possibilities and doubts. What if inviting Angela to perform backfired? Would people see her as a traitor or a beacon of hope? Her heart pounded as anxiety coiled tightly around her chest. Why don't you just send it? Jermaine's voice echoed in the small room. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a mix of concern and encouragement on his face. I need to get it right, she said, biting her lip. This isn't just about us anymore. It's so much bigger. Yeah, but think about it. This could bring people together. This could show that even people from different sides can unite, Jermaine replied. Tiana wanted to believe him. She wanted to grasp hold of that hope and run with it. You really think it'll work? That people will see it that way? They might, Jermaine said, stepping into the room and taking a seat next to her. But what if they don't? What if they refuse to see past her family name? This is more than just about Angela's privilege. It's about breaking down the walls of misunderstanding. She nodded slowly, the weight of his words resonating in her heart. Okay, I'll send it, she finally decided, feeling a flicker of courage ignite within her. The next day, after another sleepless night, Tiana crafted her message to Angela. It was clear and earnest. She poured her fears and dreams into it, hoping that Angela would understand the stakes involved. When she finally hit send, a strange mixture of dread and relief flooded her system. It was done. A few days dragged by, tension mounting with every sunrise. Each passing moment felt like a week. What if Angela didn't respond? What if the event failed? Tiana couldn't shake the worry that gnawed at her bones. Then, the evening before the open mic night, her phone buzzed. Tiana's heart raced as she reached for it, her pulse quickening. It was a reply from Angela. Tiana quickly opened the message and her breath caught in her throat. Tiana, I'm so grateful for your invitation. I would love to perform and share this moment with all of you. I feel strongly about sparking conversations that truly matter. I have an idea that might help connect every single one of us. Let's make it something special. Tears sprang to Tiana's eyes as she read the last line. The warmth of Angela's words was comforting in a way that melted some of her fears away. She's on our side. She whispered to Jermaine, who hovered nearby, curiously peering over her shoulder. This is amazing. Jermaine exclaimed, jumping to his feet. Next level amazing. No turning back now. Their excitement bubbled over. Tiana felt empowerment coursing through her veins. This could be the start of something monumental, a turning point not just for them, but for everyone in their community. As they prepared for the event, Tiana's anxiety was overshadowed by a feeling she hadn't experienced before, hope. But as she lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, doubts crept back in. Would Angela truly understand? Could she connect with the heart of the community? And as dawn broke, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Tiana pondered the most crucial question of all: was their vision of unity genuinely possible? The moment of truth was approaching rapidly, and with it, the real challenge began. Would their dreams flourish, or would fractures reveal themselves? The evening of the open mic night arrived, and Tiana stood backstage, heart pounding like a drum. She could feel the vibrant energy of the crowd swelling beyond the thin curtain that separated them. The community center had transformed into a colorful oasis, filled with bright lights and laughter, tags of hope fluttering in the air. Tiana exchanged glances with Jermaine, whose excitement radiated through the room. They had poured everything into this night, and she felt the electricity crackling, a tangible reminder of what was at stake. This was more than just a performance, it was a declaration of their shared humanity. As the event began, Tiana took a deep breath, remembering all the stories shared in their meetings, all the tears shed and laughter shared. Each person had come with their own wounds, but here, a luminous thread of connection wove through them. Voices rose as people took turns to share their talents: poetry recitations, heartfelt songs, and spine-tingling stories that illuminated the heart. Tiana listened with bated breath. They were unwrapping their truths in the most beautiful way possible, and then it was time for Angela. Tiana felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as Angela stepped onto the stage. The crowd hushed, and Tiana could see the tension in Angela's shoulders. Would they trust her? Would they see the sincerity behind the privilege? "Hello, everyone," Angela began, her voice steady yet vulnerable. "I want to thank Tiana for the warm invitation here tonight. I'm aware of the weight my family name carries and how my father's choices have affected all of you. This is not about me claiming any spotlight but about the power of us coming together." Tiana held her breath, eyes glued to the stage. As Angela shared her thoughts, Tiana could see the flicker of understanding in the crowd. The vulnerability in Angela's voice resonated. She wasn't just another rich girl speaking from a place of power, but a human being reaching out. "I've seen the pain in our community and the struggles we all face," Angela continued. "I know the bridge between us is long, but I believe together we can build something that lasts." An audible gasp rippled through the crowd, and Tiana felt her heart swell. The change was palpable as whispers of support began to ripple through the room. People were receiving Angela's words, allowing them to settle into their hearts. With each passing second, the walls that had divided them seemed to soften. Finally, Angela shared a song, a melody born from love and longing, all pangs and crescendos that captured the spirit of unity. The audience listened, rapt and moved. Tiana watched as heads nodded in unison, feet tapping to the rhythm. Something was shifting, growing. Anger turned to shared sorrow, and hearts aligned in a way that made Tiana's chest swell with pride and excitement. As Angela wrapped up her performance, applause erupted like fireworks through the hall. Inspired by her courage, several others stood to share their own stories. The crowd connected like a web of light, illuminating every shadowed corner. Pain transformed into resilience, and laughter replaced the doubts that once hovered. When Tiana took the mic, it felt like stepping into a new world. "Tonight proves that we are stronger together. Sharing our dreams makes room for a brighter future." The cheers echoed in affirmation, and the sense of unity surged like a wave. Later that night, as the event wrapped up, Tiana found herself wrapped in a warm hug by the woman who had doubted her initially. "I see you now," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with tears. Tiana smiled brighter than ever before. "Thank you for being part of this." As people filtered out of the community center, Tiana couldn't shake the feeling of transformation that hung in the air. Hope danced like fireflies, illuminating faces filled with renewed determination. She met Jermaine's gaze across the room without exchanging words. They both understood. This journey had only just begun. Their community had opened the door to conversations that mattered. The real work would be sustaining the energy, ensuring each voice continued to echo beyond this gathering. Standing side by side with Angela and Jermaine, Tiana smiled through the tears in her eyes. They were no longer just a narrative defined by one scandal but rather the architects of their destinies. Together, they would continue forging connections, for now, and into the horizon. This moment was significant. They had ignited a spark of change not just for themselves but for everyone in the community. As Tiana looked around, she realized this was her transformation she had awakened, and their journey of healing had only just begun. So here we are, standing together. If you felt the power of this story, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your voice is important, and we want to hear your reactions and feelings about this ending in the comments below. Let's keep the momentum going.